Good morning, everyone. I'm John O'Loughlin, and welcome to my channel. It's called McDuff Lives. And this morning, I'm doing a special Wednesday edition. I usually take Wednesdays off, but because of the nature of the day, and just to allow some of our charrette participants to have a moment here to share their thoughts of the day, I'm going to open up the show. And before I do that, I just want to give you my own personal observation, which is contained in the lyrics of the poem to the song American Anthem by Gene Shear. And this has been the theme, the driving force behind my work here at McDuff. McDuff, Kennedy's man to smash the CIA for over a year and a half. McDuff _2020, our backup channel, now become McDuff Lives, which will now be expanding and hopefully gaining a much broader reach so that we can continue to bring the truth as best we can to the American people so that they can fulfill the dream expressed by Gene Shear in this beautiful lyric. All we've been given by those who came before, the dream of a nation where freedom could endure. The work and prayers of centuries have brought us to this day. What will be our legacy? What will our children say? Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart, when my days are through, America, America, I gave my best to you. And that's my thoughts for the day. I'm going to now turn it over to my colleague, George Webb, and let him give us his thoughts and observations. And also, I think he's going to be bringing in a few special guests. So take it away, George Webb.
John, can I hold you here just for 1 second?
You bet.
And Andy, could you bring that up and to music? Gene Shear, and it's spelled SCHEER, EER, Gene Shear. And American Anthem, I believe, is the title of the song.
What do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Which version would you like? I would
whatever you would like to.
I'd go with the Norah Jones.
Okay, Norah Jones. We'll have Andy, as long as we have all this talent, we may as well have them pull stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah. Scroll down a little bit. You should see. There it is, Norah Jones.
Still right here. Give me 1 second. I got to share it with audio.
And let me say before we start that we are using this from apparently from PBS, the Ken Burns documentary, The War. And we're going to hope that they will give us their kind permission to use it for educational purposes and for illustration only. We do not own this film.
All we've been given by those who came before, the dream of a nation where freedom would endure, the work and prayers of centuries have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing blessings I received.
There we go, folks.
Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. each generation from the plains to distant shore, with the gifts that they were given, were determined to leave more. Battles fought together, acts of conscience fought alone. These are the seeds from which America has grown. Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing blessings that I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. For those who think they have nothing to share, who fear in their hearts there is no hero there, know each quiet act of dignity is that which fortifies the soul of a nation that will never die. Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. America, I gave my best to you.
Well, that was very nice.
Well, George, I think that says it all for me. I think we all here feel the same way. We're doing the best we can to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, because without that, there is nothing.
Right. It's so true. And both our fathers obviously fought in World War II, and several people on the chat were saying that. Andy, I think we've got Ann Vandersteel, potentially. No, not yet. Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. So I just wanted to say, yesterday I was on the show with John, and I'd said that Trump was going to go to, come on in, Addy. Addy Adds is going to join us here. We're going to add Addy Adds. How about that? Try to get more ADD in that sentence.
Good morning, George.
Good morning, sir. I'll let you get your headphones on. So we are going to be joined by Ann Vandersteel. Addy set this up right before the call here, and we talked to Lee Wheelbarger last night. So we don't want to create this division, from where people had said, "Oh, there's going to be this operation," or Trump's going to do this or that. We don't. We want to reach out to those people who maybe felt because of the intelligence they were getting, different things were going to happen, and they didn't happen. And what we said is going to happen, but we're not here to say that we were right and they were wrong. What we're here to do is all focus and come together on working together. And I believe the way to win is with being smarter with the pen than they are cruel with the sword. And there's nobody who, just look at what one young man did. by going up to DC so often and filming all these Humvees and tanks and snipers and rifles and fencing. And I republished some of your work this morning, ads for just 2 minutes. But one young man with a lot of courage, 25 years old, goes up there and lets the world know what's happening. And no one else is doing it. Right Side Broadcasting has exclusive access through the president. They're maybe the only other ones, but the only independent voice was yours, Addy. And I just want to say thank you. I went up there 2 or 3 times, but you went up there a lot more. So.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, George. I do want to give a shout out to Ann Vandersteel, who's still up there as well. And she's going to chat with us shortly here. But yeah, and we had, Deborah, I have to give a shout out to as well. She was the wheels transportation that got me there. So I want to thank Deborah for that. And as far as, this day, I think just understanding that we don't, we were watching his speech yesterday, right? A Trump speech, which I think was quite well done, even if it was pre-recorded. I think it still had a sense of patriotism to it that was well appreciated by the people that watched it. But I think we have to understand that we don't necessarily need Donald Trump to move forward, and we can still win this. Obviously the Julian Assange pardon was something that a lot of people were hoping for on both sides of the aisle, I think, which to me is again, it's just indicative, I think, of how powerful the deep state is and that force that they do have. But we can do this like what George is saying with just regular people in citizen journalism, trying to bring truth to the authorities and truth to power. But yeah, thank you, George, for those comments. I did see that you tweeted it out on your profile this morning. Real George Webb 1, right?
Yeah. Just the number 1. Where you're ONEADDYADDS on Twitter.
Correct. Yep.
And as we'll have the background, but a lot of people, would rather have maybe the background going from the feed from the Capitol, but would rather have the analysis of Ann Vandersteel, who's actually there. I talked to her, and Addy talked to her before the show, and there's all kinds of crackdowns that are happening, literally like right out of Night of the Long Knives type crackdowns, with people being asked for their credentials. Where's your government ID? Why are you in DC right now? Why are you staying in a Airbnb? Right. And then we'll give you a credit on your credit card, but you have to get out. And oh, by the way, we need your bank statement to get a credit on your credit card. Right. So this is turned into a witch hunt of the first order. Hillary Clinton is asking for a national index to be created. The new Secretary of the Defense is talking about weeding out all the racists and extremists. And I guess that would be anybody who's white and anybody who voted for Trump.
I did a tweet yesterday, I think it was. Torture and genocide are chill as long as you aren't accused of being a racist.
Yeah.
It's just completely fine. That's everybody.
Yeah. And we don't wear the neighborhood news thing on our sleeve, but if you count the number of participants in neighborhood news, we can melon in with anybody.
It's weird, George, because growing up, I had racial epithets thrown at me on one way, and then now it's the other way. It's like, make up your mind, guys. Like, what am I? I don't even know. It's kind of a joke I make about my kind of muttness or mixed race background. So
I think we don't. I'm saying we're not wearing on our sleeves, but the last thing we're going to do, and people say, the last thing we're going to do is say those kids, those 50,000 kids that went through the program were white. They weren't. Okay. The 18 kids in the orphanage are not white. Okay. The other 18 kids in the other orphanage are not white. So this wholesale attack on media, just hoping that everyone's dumb. out there and just we'll throw everybody into a bucket. Well, they had one white guy on there. They must be a racist outlet. We'll turn the sound down and we'll just have Donnie O'Sullivan say some lies. And then everyone will assume it's an extremist. You know, I think that's what we have to be smarter than them in terms of how we go with our message out.
And you mentioned the kind of difference between the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and how we need to be smarter with the First Amendment than they are powerful with the Second. And I think you're right on that, George. I think that's a smart way to go. It's the way to win it. I think, and this is a recent conclusion that I came to, was that although I am a huge supporter of the Second Amendment and have gone hunting, and I still plan on going hunting in the future, it's almost more like a principle that you fall back on, right? Because in reality, you know, it's like, are you really going to take on the U.S. government, the greatest war machine that has ever been created by man? Probably not. But, you know, with Twitter and Facebook, the message, right? The pen, as George says, the broad way to put it, I think is really the best way to do it. And that's why this war that we are in is psychological. It's almost completely informational, backed by raw power, right? But it's Jeffrey Prather calls it the Fourth World War, fifth generation warfare, completely psychological.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is, you know, I can't remember, there was a football coach at University of Oregon. It's, you start your day by winning, and the way you get your first win is make your bed. It's like, hey, I gotta win, you know, now I'm on to my next win. And maybe that's how we have to do it. I mean, I try to get my first 2-minute zinger this morning was the green zoning of America. And I took your film and said, look, this is the template here. This is sort of like the Phoenix Project. Somebody said, build a wall around DC. You know, Biden's still building a wall. It's just around DC now. And then we just false flag our way around the country with this same group of people. That's why they had the 50 people come in from the Navy, you know, from the Naval Reserve all to DC, because they're going to redo this. Like you were saying, in a shooting here, or, you know, there's going to be some racist white guy over here.
Domestic terrorism, white nationalism, school shootings, I think, are the big three.
And in 5 years, you're going to have walled cities where they want to have green zones. And, you know, you have to have your government ID. We're already seeing that today. Ann Vandersteel is going to talk about that, where if you don't have your government ID, which is going to turn into some kind of chip or some kind of bio tattoo, if you don't have that, you're not going to be allowed in our green zone.
Yeah.
Right. And now I control the economy through the military complex. And the green zoning isn't just green zoning your access. It's green zoning your promotions. It's green zoning your career path. It's green zoning your wallet. Right. That's the thing that's being laid in right now.
Maybe, and I think Wes actually said he was there at the first inauguration. Maybe you guys, and I don't know what your experience was of that, but maybe you guys could talk about
which inauguration.
So that would be Trump's inauguration.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, the previous inauguration is what I meant. And just comparing it to differences you see here, which we're looking at right now.
Let's go to that in 1 second. I just wanted to say,
certainly.
Make one point with you, Addy, is that you're going to watch a very prepared scripted thing that's been shot hundreds of times under bright light at all times of day and night, right? That's being cut in at various points along the way, a very highly scripted thing that you're seeing in the window.
Yep.
And what you're going to see from us is actually what's happening. Just what's happening outside the Capitol. The huge fences that you're going to see, the incredible distance that you have to be away from the Capitol. They raided people on Q Street last night. I just want you to verify that you heard these things.
Yes, I did. So an Airbnb renter or leasee was making use of a particular Airbnb on Q Street in the Capitol. And apparently they had, or are Q followers of some sort. And they got visited by the FBI for renting an Airbnb. And and just reiterating what George was saying about someone we know who is staying in the Capitol hotel, and they paid with a credit card, and they want them to leave now, I guess, and give them bank statement information in order to get the refund, even though they paid via credit, which also doesn't make sense. And then Ann was also telling us about some other arrests that were going on too.
One in California.
Yeah, and I strongly debated going today because Deborah was asking me last night, and I was like, man, I think that would be cool, but it's kind of a asymmetric risk that is I deemed not to be worth it, especially for this particular situation. I just don't support this. I think it's a farce. I think this whole thing's
everyone's
a farce.
saying faux Joe. And well, anyway, I just wanted to, we still may go. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because, you heard the same conversation I did. And we thought, well, if we cut into Ann on a live feed, that'll give people a feel for it. And they don't necessarily have to see us up there. I do kind of want to do like you, and I want to do like Trump and kind of say, I'm not going.
Yeah.
If there was some representatives that didn't go when Trump came in. So
it also, and we had been suspecting it was a possible trap of sorts, or honey trap of sorts. And it seems to be trending that way based on what Ann has been telling us with these arrests and stuff. So again, weighing all of these things goes into, it's all the factors that people consider when trying to do a journalism.
If you even go there, you have all these trolls on the internet sending every agency the fact that somebody with a camera literally is somehow a domestic terrorist because the camera tells no lies, right? That's terrorism now because you're pointing it at what we don't want you to see. We're pointing it at something that we don't want the public to see. That's terrorism now. So anyway, I am going to text Ann and just say we're ready. So I'm going to give you my phone and text Ann saying she needs an account. So text her.
She shouldn't need an account.
You guys work off screen while I talk to Wes.
Yeah, Wes can come and share his inauguration experience if he wants.
Yeah. So Wes McCullough is the senior member of our crew, only by a year. I found out he was older. I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice way of saying he's the old farter.
Oh, yeah. Well, Wes, you had a lot of great comments this morning. Get close here to the mic. And you had a lot of great comments about the inauguration, about the peaceful stealing of an election and so forth.
Yes, that's important. We've always been concerned about the peaceful transition. And it's just the peaceful steal of the election at this point. And again, to parrot some of what John said about grandchildren, I might disagree to some extent. I think grandchildren may just say to us, boy, did you get rolled?
You blew it, man.
What were you people thinking?
You fell for the 100 guys with flags,
Absolutely.
I'm still looking at the films. I did all those 2-minute interviews with all the people that went there, and I'm still looking at it and say, how did, people come to the conclusion that 100 people with flags represented the 200 people when they're all the Antifa information's coming out now, all the BLM paying BLM people. Every time you turn around, another Hollywood producer has a kid or some kind of girlfriend that was now a provocateur inside. I'm wondering how many Oswalds are going to be left when they finally get done. And yet it's still white supremacy somehow. I think it's BLM and Antifa supremacy if you look at the receipts.
Oh, absolutely. Anybody that wasn't the military age was not involved. Basically, if you look at if you were under 20 or over 40, those were the Trump normies, and everybody else was just pretty much plants. And of course the Capitol Steps comedy team there, that were known as the Capitol Police, between their failing to keep folks from coming up the stairs, and somehow those RPG proof doors that should have kept everybody out were somehow open to the public, and And again, just think of it. You could have had half dozen Capitol Police with mace. I think they actually have mace, and if you would have soaked the first row down, I guarantee you that nobody would have been interested in going any further. I guarantee you, if they would have arrested anybody at any point prior to smashing windows, and of course, as they came in the windows, you just put the handcuffs on and put them in the corner. It just boggles the mind. And again, the absurdity of it was 42 degrees, and if you would have wet down the crowd in any form, if you would have had, as I said, if you would have had a Girl Scout group with super soakers, they could have stopped the whole thing. So it defies one's intelligence. But again, that's basically what we're up against. We've been rolled multiple times, and when they do plan, they were quite good. But on the other hand, you recognize that under the Hillary election, they got schnookered because they thought they had it in the bag, but Trump blew right past them, and they weren't ready for that. Similarly, in this case, they had to stop the election and start bringing in ballots from. Again, they thought they were ready, but even at that, Trump's popularity was able to crush the algorithm so badly that they had to be coming up with all sorts of additional ballots just to get there, and they actually had to stop the election in all of the 6 states because basically Trump crushed the algorithm. So that was,
and that is what happened. And I don't know. We're obviously going to go forward here in a half an hour, and Biden is going to be sworn in, so we're going to become part of the resistance. On this little island here, we had people putting up resist signs, and talking about decency, and that's all it says, resist, for 4 years, right? I've only been here a year and a half, but resist. And then the other one was decency. Now you can't resist. You can't resist. You're a supremacist if you resist. So I'm not about resisting. I'm just about telling people the truth.
Again, recall that normally the folks that are in this are folks like Noam Chomsky and folks like that, all linguists and the like, trying to alter the American language and how we're looked upon, and they're quite good at that. And be aware that they've learned, the Dems have learned their lesson insofar as this typical liberal mindset is that it's not that all our screwy policies have done something incorrectly. It's just that they've not been permitted to do enough of them. So, and that's the Soviet mentality too. I recall an Albanian kid from, he was in Albania, but he was American, but he was flaming left wing, off the chart, somewhere to the right or to the left of Trotsky kind of guy, and of course at that time Albania was a total disaster during the Cold War, but yet his thesis again was the typical thesis was we've just not of course Albania was one of the
poorest countries.
Well, it was the ultimate in communist repression, and yet his thesis was that they weren't doing enough communism, and that and if they were just allowed to do everything totally communist and oppressive, that those the strawberries and cream were just around the corner. Never occurred.
Well, Wes, I know that you were a Cold Warrior. You were on the front lines there in Germany during the height of the Soviet Union, and you were listening to the broadcast in East German, and you've watched a lot of bad color combinations and a lot of bad fashion from the Eastern Bloc comedy shows.
Oh yeah, well,
That somehow the Pentagon wanted you to listen to, as well as all the other radio broadcasts and so forth. So it is, you do have quite a career with intelligence gathering and so forth, and that whole a lot of exposure, I guess, to Soviet culture and Soviet bloc culture. Remember, they used to call it the Soviet bloc. And I had a chance to brush up with some of that too in the Velvet Revolution of Czechoslovakia. So, but I look at these people, Wes, as now these guys from Belgrade and Eastern Bloc countries, where we saw so much cruelty and just no holds barred type of fighting, now being brought into this country during our elections. We're now having these people like Otpor and Canvas pouring in and canvassing our elections. And they're showing up now they just change uniforms, and now they're going to be the NATO replacement police in these different green zones. And you wonder, you were in occupied the American sector, I think. Maybe they had combined the British and French sector by the time you got there.
Well, we worked side by side with the Brits as far as that's concerned, which is to say we were able to get good tea at our snacks and
But what I'm saying is, what it's all about, being in a walled city in Berlin, right? You guys were forward.
Well, yeah, we always referred to it as there was no. People would say, "What are you going to do if Soviets do an attack or whatever?" I said, "Well, no problem. All they have to do is paint POW camp on the outside of the Berlin Wall, and everything was already taken care of."
Just a little truth in advertising is all you needed.
Exactly.
Yeah. But this is what I mean. You saw the fences. You just wonder why. You saw the fences Addy shot of 8 feet. You saw the little low bicycle barriers that were put out there. And then apparently there was people dressed as Capitol police officers waving people in. Those were not apparently Capitol police officers. They were people impersonating Metro police. Why wouldn't you have the 8-foot fence? I mean, you've gone through all the other countermeasures, but to start with, why not the 8-foot fence?
Well, that's true, and of course the Berlin Wall was a tad bit larger than that, but the minefields were a little bit dodgy too. But yeah, they can ruin your whole day. But no, again, our problem is we're all the pundits, even on the semi-conservative news is always does the caveat of these FBI guys. Why? No, we know that you got all the sweethearts in there that are white hats and stuff. Yeah, I'm not totally buying that. I mean, basically, we're paying them to go into an area and wipe out every speck of evidence. They're at that they are professional. The other thing being that how many terror plots have the FBI and CIA actually done anything about? It's not normally we knew about those guys. Yeah, we knew about them a long time. The fact that they blew people's legs off in Boston or other places. Notwithstanding, but we knew. Again, if you knew about it,
why didn't you do anything? And this is what I've talked about, these false flags, going all the way back to my start in this whole thing 7 years ago. Not a very wise and economic decision. Lost 2 houses, fighting the FBI, and I'm not going to probably win that one. But yeah, here's some good shots. Another set of good shots of. I'm just overwhelmed, when I look back at these pictures of how peaceful it was and how festive it was.
That was the street fair, basically. I mean, you had folks just wandering about, commiserating with one another, and you had the merchants there selling Trump paraphernalia and stuff. And it was, you can see how see what subversives there are in this picture, and you can pretty well understand that that's the way all of them were. It was just when the folks at the barriers that were properly staged there to pick up the proper amount of fencing and open it up and try and get things going. And of course the Capitol Police being just as accommodating as they could be.
Yeah. Thank you, Wes. I mean, it's just great to get the eyewitness testimony. And I want to say thanks for joining. And Addy, I think I'm going to have you come back. Thank you again, Wes, for your service on today. Oh, I didn't ask you about the Reagan. You want to talk about the inauguration just a little bit? The last one?
Oh, well, no, it's just the fact that they had everything so gummed up that even if you got there at 5 o'clock, you were lucky if you got in the inner circle there by 11. And so it was a bit like this last one as far with the toilet accommodations. It was, I mean, they have more there in conventionally in the summer. And of course nobody, all these old people that
You need to go to the bathroom.
weren't the most, incontinence is a terrible thing, but I don't know how personally how they made it there. And
yeah, we had a lot of people standing out for a long time outside with no toilets, no nothing. Hey, Ads, could you grab my phone when you come back over? Thank you very much again, Wes. So, Andy, can I get a count when you get a chance? And I'm just want to make sure that we get Ann online here. I'm going to call her. Did we send her a link? Another link? We did?
Yep.
Okay. Let me give her a quick ring, and you're going to hear how television production happens real time.
You want me to mute your mic?
No. Let's make sure that everyone knows that the Ann Vandersteel is going to be speaking with us.
I'll play the video of the eyewitness of the Ashley Babbitt shooting, that Addy shot.
Oh, sure. I think we're getting jammed because I'm not getting through.
Well, they said they were going to do that. I mean, as far as jamming the interior.
Yeah. Well, Lee talked about this. Addy, do you want to describe this? This is the guy.
Yeah. So this is right after the man with the mask was relaying to George what he supposedly had seen, which was a few men come out of the building where Ashley Babbitt was shot. George and I quickly went over the Capitol steps, and I saw this SWAT team, supposed SWAT team, and then this guy came up and relays what he saw as it pertained to Ashley Babbitt's shooting.
These guys are militia guys, I think.
No way. 90% chance that she's dead. I was in the room. She definitely got shot. I saw the blood. About the death, no. About the shooting, yes, because I was in there. Right in front of the speaker's office. It said speaker's office after they breached the windows. So I heard the blast. Somebody said it was a buckshot. Sounded like it. And then this girl went down. The girl went down. There was like a stampede, so everybody left. I couldn't really see it. But I was in a little space of the room where it happened. Yeah, but I'm sure she didn't get stampeded.
Did you see blood?
No, she didn't get stampeded. She was in the front. I saw the blood, and she got swept away, and you'll probably not hear about it. But there's somebody with footage over there that's going to reveal it. I think she was white. I'm not sure. I wouldn't be, so I can only tell you, I can't tell you 100% that she's dead now, but she was down. I saw the video. I was there. I saw the video, a puddle of blood, and they swept her away. Nobody knows what happened. So they either took her on the back to get to a paramedic or something, but that's what happened, and nobody knows about it. We pay their checks, and they're killing us in this place. We're here to fight for this country, and they're killing people, and nobody knows it. If they all knew it, they'd be up in arms in there too. It's a miracle nobody else got shot. Whether it was, I don't know if it was a live round, but it sure went through her neck.
But they would never do that to BLM.
That's right. That's right. That's right. This is a joke.
So pretty much everything he said there turned out to be true, 100% true. I know some people were accusing him of being an actor of some sort, but everything he said, regardless, was turned out to be completely true, as we found out later. And great point there he made too, which a lot of people are missing, is just the difference in behavior towards protesters by law enforcement over the past 12 months. People just seem to have completely forgotten all those cities burning throughout the summer last year, George.
And you notice, even when you look at these things, you notice how the crowd is so sedate. The crowd isn't moving. It's not thronging toward the exits. The only time I kind of like, race to a situation was here on these steps. And you can hear Addy talking here. You want to cut that in, Andrew?
From independent of each other. I'm here with George Webb in Neighborhood News. I don't know where he went, but I'll just show you a view.
So this is probably 10 or 15 minutes after the shooting.
And there's that guy I interviewed, that senator from West Virginia is just right ahead of you.
Make sure this is safe. Stay frosty.
And you see the crowd though, it's just milling around. It's just standing. And we were motioned and beckoned. Now, of course, we're reporters, so we're immune. We're covering a story. But everyone else is still well within there. There's no attempt. Ladies and gentlemen, leave the Capitol area. This is a restricted area. This is, the Capitol Police. Move back.
Yeah, there's no clear communication as far as that went. I saw a really interesting video. I think it was on the Washington Post YouTube page. I can't recall for sure. But there was actually one guy who had his rifle up and pointed at people. But again, you just never saw that last year. If at any of those riots, even when a guy killed somebody, 2 people, Kyle Rittenhouse, and nothing happened. He's almost running at the cops with a gun, and people are trying to explain that to me as not being an operation of some sort. And I'm just like, I'm not buying it, people.
First, there's nobody here, and then there's 50 Humvees. Huh? Is that because they called the Humvees in? You just have to have a little common sense in these things.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to prove me wrong, then you take your AR-15 and run at some law enforcement, and you can test that theory out. I will be watching.
We'll be filming. Well, and I walked down Santa Monica Boulevard, one of the places I went, and we, on our book signing tour. You had not joined the tour yet, I don't think.
No, you didn't let me know about it.
Okay.
That was in La Jolla, right? Or
La Jolla. Yeah.
La Jolla.
Well, next time, don't miss La Jolla. La Jolla was good, and we have some great sponsors out there.
I just remember seeing, I think you did a broadcast from like a table, like a round table, and I just see George and a table of like 10 ladies.
Yeah, you're going to help me out a lot. So,
Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez is coming down. I just think this is the elites just kind of celebrating their extravagances right now, that they know they stole it, and now they're kind of rubbing your nose in it. And why not? They're going to try to talk about the first black woman vice president. I want the first black woman vice president to be somebody who won it. Somebody who went out and campaigned, somebody who I admire, who speaks well, and so forth. Kamala Harris, met her several times. Task force went up to her and said, "You're my senator. There's these, fake cops here in Maryland, just like there was fake cops in D.C. or in L.A. You guys, what was all that about? I'm a police officer. I went to the police academy. Why do you have all these fake cops, Masonic cops in L.A.?" And nothing happened. Kamala Harris didn't do anything other than when she was the attorney general. She added a lot of years on a lot of people's sentences for drug crimes.
She put a lot of people in jail for low-level drug use in the state of California.
And that, to me, I don't want J-Lo out there saying I'm a black woman, and this is she's going to cry now because this is the first black woman vice president. I'm sorry, that's not the first black woman vice president that I was looking for, and I'm not going to celebrate that on the heel of a steel. And the other piece here is, if there was some level of humility, if there was some level of reaching across the aisle and even-handedness and objectivity, and they said, hey, we did hire a lot of Antifa, we did hire a lot of BLM, we thought it was for your own good that we led you all into the shooting pen. We had to smear all 2 million of you because of our 100 operatives. If they would have come out and said, hey, it was a big operation, we fooled you, and we won. Yeah, Dominion, remember Dominion, we always switch things at the end, deliver results that you need. If there would be some humility and say, hey, we stole it fair and square because we're sneakier, then I'd be okay. All right, you got one by us. It's kind of like when you throw a curveball, a really nasty curveball, and you strike the guy out. Hey, like, props to you, brother. Nice curveball. But don't sit there and now ride the high horse. Don't sit there and now talk about, how you're holier than thou. Don't sit there and talk about how anybody who came to the Capitol, which, contrary to all the evidence and footage, were somehow racist. We're an African news network. Yes, South Africa is in Africa, but we're not based in South Africa. We're based in Ghana. So which is mostly black in the sub-Saharan Africa. So
George is talking about Aaron Adler's orphanage and nonprofit that he set up.
But Neighborhood News,
in Ghana,
it was started by
Aaron Adler.
Yeah, Aaron Adler in Africa. So, I guess I get tired of this. You're racist, and just because you were there. No, we were there covering the news. You were wearing a badge called Latinos for Trump.
Yeah.
I was wearing a badge called Latinos for Trump. I broke out some Spanish, some Espanol.
Yeah.
Contigo.
Yeah.
Ok, entonces vamos a hablar en español para 2 minutos.
Ok, está bien.
¿Está bien? Ok.
Sí.
Pregúntame una cuestión. Pregunta.
Ok, una pregunta para el maestro Webb. ¿Qué pasó con nuestra amiga Ann? ¿Están bloqueando nuestras comunicaciones de Washington D.C. a Mystery Island, piensas o crees? ¿Qué crees? ¿Qué piensas, Jorge?
¿Qué piensas que
sobre las comunicaciones? ¿Hay un bloqueado entre nosotros?
¿Qué es bloqueado?
Is there a communications block, do you think, going on between us and Ann? Because we were trying to get Ann Vandersteel. She said
I thought you were saying Ellen, and so I was thinking of a different person. Yeah.
No.
So bloqueado. Okay, es mi palabra nueva para hoy.
It might be a little more succinct way to put that, but bloquear is 2 blocks.
Yeah.
Block,
okay.
2 blocks.
I do know that verb now. The only reason we threw that in there is so that we would just throw off the AI algorithm. We're gonna be rocketing up the Hispanic charts now. Okay, let's watch a little more video.
Where is your backup? This is our damn Capitol building, and y'all are letting it get destroyed on your watch. Fuck all of you. Call for backup. Get some help down here.
See, I think
they don't want to get you fucking backup. They obviously don't give a shit about you. These people want blood.
See, they're trying to incite people on both sides. There's the murder inciters that come out and say one of yours has been murdered. Then there's the people who are there inciting the police. And we saw this happen, but you basically incite both sides, and then eventually you hope you can stir it up. And they were so unsuccessful in this. This did not work. Yeah, we are definitely getting blocked with Ann because we've tried numerous times, and we set this up before, and they're just basically cutting off communications.
Yeah.
Because Latinos for Trump must be planning something. Maybe the FBI will knock on our door because Latinos for Trump. But isn't it okay to be a Latino anymore in America? I don't know. This is kind of a sad day, really.
You don't really hear them complaining too much.
Who's that? Latinos?
Not really.
Not really.
That's all I'm saying.
All right, I won't go there. All
I'm
right,
Latino, so I can say that.
I know you
or
are.
at least people see me as such. So,
Well, and
which is
there's
even more important than reality.
that's true. And there's a lot of American Indians that identify with you as well, for good
Yeah.
reason, because you're blood Indian too.
Yeah.
So, although I think Dave has you by a little bit of blood.
I think he's full, isn't he?
Yeah.
Isn't he?
Yeah. And I think, speaking of the reservation system, it seems like that's what they want to do with anybody they consider white, no matter how Hispanic they are, no matter how American Indian they are, no matter how many black kids they educated, no matter how many orphanages they build. If they say you're a white extremist, you're a white extremist. That's all that matters. Even though Kamala Harris, now I'm not here to throw, dirt at Kamala Harris. I never was impressed by anything she ever did in her as a senator.
Kabbalah. I call her Kabbalah.
Kabbalah. That's good. I like it. But her family traces back to one of the biggest slaveholding families in Jamaica. So, at what point do you get away with riding on the high horse? I just don't want. They seem to be cramming it down our throat here. Is that you're white, you're a racist, you're a supremacist, you're an extremist because you work for a Latino. You did a day as a Latino reporter for Trump, or you worked a day for an African news agency. And I guess I'm sick of it. This is the kind of talk that the Nazis did after the Reichstag. They said, hey, the communists must be eliminated. They must be fumigated. We need to kill them all, exterminate them. And once you get the crowd to go, oh, well, that's just a small group. That's just 1%. Let's round them up. Let's exterminate them. Well, now we got these ovens all going. We figured out how to run those. Go ahead, Wes.
Well,
Can you just interview him like report on the street?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, they do call him the chosen one of the internet for a reason.
Sure.
Now
Close.
George is like, yeah, okay, whatever you say.
Close to the mic, though. That's whatever I say.
No, I say the whole Nazi Rassenkunde was like it was like a university program that you had to learn the proper Nazi racial propaganda, and it became
What's that? Ratzenkunde?
Race art, basically.
Kulta is like culture.
Kunde, yeah.
Kunde. And then Rasa?
Rassen
Kulta.
Races. So
Yeah.
So that again, it's comical as fast and loose as the left is with the Nazi illustrations. National Socialism is ultimate socialism. It just allows a few oligarchs to live, and that's the only difference between that and taking over the entire production and everything else. But the Rassenkunde is, if you bring up much of that, you'll find how overwhelmed they were with that. That was a most important phase of anything that Goebbels had to say.
Yeah, I noticed there was a lot of emphasis on extermination. This idea of this, it's their rats. They subhumanize, and then they're rats, and now we can exterminate them. And I just see this in the rhetoric of Pelosi, and Hillary Clinton has now come out with this. A softer version of this has come out with AOC, which is the re-education camps, the relocation camps. But the whole Nazi thing came out in like overnight, like flowers blooming in the night after this their little 100 people busted windows with the Trump flags.
Certainly, but the point is, there's nothing new under the sun as far as some of the things that work, and certainly they're not embarrassed by their some of the folks they take from. Of course, they take from the
left and the right.
Well, again,
it's the same thing, really.
Yeah, but I'm saying that the socialism is never to the right. That was a post-war thing that was shoved down our throats. That because they were against the communists as being somebody that was against them. It's just that they were in a different point of the spectrum, but it was never to the right. It was it's all part of the left in one form or another.
That's what you're saying. You're saying National Socialism.
Yeah.
The Nazi Party was National Socialism.
And if you want to confirm that, Goebbels' diaries themselves spoke of, well, we can't go anywhere. These capitalist loons in America, we don't want to have anything to do with them. The Soviets are our buds, so we can maybe make a deal with them. Right.
There was a détente or whatever, an agreement between Stalin and Hitler to begin with. Yeah.
To wit, they prior to in the early 30s and the like, they all their testing of weapons and everything and manufacture of aircraft and the like, that was all done in the Soviet Union. That's something that's not brought forward. And of course
all their war in order to avoid the accords from the First World War, the Versailles Treaty, they had to train all their pilots in Poland and had to do a lot of war production in Czechoslovakia and Hungary and all these other satellite countries.
Yeah, exactly. But the Soviets actually allowed them to do total maneuvers and the like, and they were total buddies. In fact, at one point when they were doing their T-34 tank, and they went to their buds in Germany to see what they were up against, and they saw the Panzer IV tank, and they said, is this the best you got? And at that time, that was it. So they felt a lot better because of that.
Well, there you have it. I mean, maybe this is a little bit too extended of thank you, Wes, too extended of an analogy, maybe, to say what we're celebrating here is basically a beer hall push. And the combination between the beer hall push and Hitler, after they seized the Reichstag, I'm pretty sure they had a power sharing agreement with Hindenburg, and then Hindenburg was dead, a year later, and then it was Hitler running the story. This is where I'm scared that Joe Biden is the Hindenburg in this analogy.
Well, the other point is that this whole thought of they're doing away with electoral college. Let's not get too in craze, because as long as there's still a Dominion machine any place, there's 1.25 votes for anything the Republicans can come up with. So the only benefit to the electoral college snafu is to make it so they only have to deal with three or four cities rather than four, than actually stop and voting and doing things like that
on a much bigger scale. Yeah, electoral college actually made it. What you're saying is it made it easier for the Steele here, and I think that's right. And Addy couldn't have been in Georgia more. If he'd have been more in front of the Georgia story or closer to the Georgia story, he would have been behind Georgia. I mean, he was. I don't know any day that you weren't there, and I was in Michigan. You were also in Michigan before, so we had people, Tracy Connor, in Pennsylvania for that whole run up, still all the way through the cases, the Supreme Court cases, and then the only other swing state that we really didn't have covered was your home state of Wisconsin, because we trapped you in Michigan.
In Michigan, yeah, and I was there in Wisconsin earlier in the second half of the year, and kind of towards the end of the summer, and it actually, I think, was the closest state in terms of votes and numbers. But regardless, I think, like what Wes was saying, it doesn't really matter how you count the votes if at the end of the day you have Dominion voting systems. Because I posted a picture on my Twitter of the mug
Yeah.
And,
Dominion, everybody, Dominion. This is the election symbol. Mostly we get the clenched fist for the outpour, but this, just keep one of those behind your back. That's actually Dominion's symbol.
Yeah.
Delivering you the election results that you need.
Yeah, it was like
Two images.
The unique, needs of every, catering to the unique needs of every election, I think was the slogan.
Just do Dominion cross fingers symbol, and then you'll see wafts of things. So I'm not trying to rain on a parade. I'm saying Biden can have the moment in the sun here, but you do have that Hindenburg feeling, Hindenburg was this elder statesman who represented the middle sort of the party, the old guard, if you will, the old World War I, establishment.
He was the chancellor, right?
I think Hitler was the chancellor.
No, Hitler was named chancellor.
Was named chancellor, yeah, in a power sharing agreement.
Okay, yeah.
But then the Reichstag was burned, and it caused this bifurcation of the politics, which there was this extreme group that said we must have retribution. We have to go get these people. Exactly the same noises that are being made by and maybe we should just switch because he is the expert. He has, but get the headphones on. Yeah. Just take a seat before you start talking. Get the headphones. So I want you to be able to hear me. Do I have the chronology right here? And get the microphone real close. Go ahead.
Well, the Reichstag was burned in 1933, and my point is that we are basically looking for those enabling acts that were the impetus behind everything that took place thereafter with Hitler, so that you need enabling acts that are special orders that allow the executive to do whatever they want. Now, of course, that's assuming that you don't include the three branches of government are not Google, Facebook, and.
But let me pin you down here and get to the chronology. Is because you had the election and there was no plurality in that 33 election, and Hindenburg had the majority, but then Hitler had enough of a minority to prevent a majority. So they needed a coalition government. And without Hitler, you didn't have the coalition. And so tired old Hindenburg, made this kind of deal with the devil, even though he thought Hitler was the devil, and made Hitler chancellor. And then I believe Hindenburg was dead within a year.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, that's what we're seeing sort of here is, Joe Biden, maybe he's done a lot of shady deals, with Russia and China, and he's used his son as an envoy with encrypted BlackBerry, but he's not let's exterminate the Republicans. Let's exterminate the extremists. Kamala Harris is.
Well, we say not yet, but the other point of order here is that that Hitler's election, that his highlight election, was not the one before he squeezed Hindenburg, because his numbers were actually going down appreciably at that point. So that's why he had to move at that point. But
he never had a plurality. He never had a popular majority.
No. You're talking early 30s not only in time frame, but percentage wise of the electorate, and it was going down. So
and they had, and since I was there, they had these same crowd agitators. The beer hall push. It reminds me so much of the beer hall. I went to Feder Herrenhall in Munich in 1923, and Hitler would go there, and they would have these different people already pre-planned sitting around, and one would jump up on a table, and it was supposed to be a spontaneous act, and say, "I vote. We make this guy over here the leader of our party," and then he was a bottle washer in the First World War, and then somebody else would say, "Well, I can do better than that. I have a guy who washed 2 bottles," and then somebody then would come up and say, "I have a man here who's won 2 Iron Crosses. He sits here totally in humility, his name is Adolf Hitler. You must make him stand. You must make him hear him. And then Hitler, oh, well, I guess I will if I have to. And then here we are.
Yeah, let me get up on the table here and shoot around into the top to the beer hole.
Yeah,
Roof.
and he fired a shot, and then they rousted the crowd at Fetter Herrenhall and then moved it to the Hofbrauhaus, right? So you take one crowd that's already a little unruly that you've worked up, and then you work it into a bigger beer hall.
Well, actually, he had all the heads of there, and he when he tried to take over at the beer hall book putsch in November of 23, he let the folks go, and oddly enough, they mustered everything, the military, and put it to Fernhalle, and as they were marching up, they just got gunned. They
weren't going to let it happen. They ambushed him. It was like 10 guys. Ambushed him.
They didn't have any Capitol Police back then, but
I know this may be a poor time to do this and a poor time, for this analogy, but I do see this as sort of a Hindenburg, and Kamala Harris is an okay person, but the forces behind her, when she was saying, you ain't seen nothing yet, when Antifa was rioting. And like I said, I went to Santa Monica and I saw 111 shops destroyed. I mean, everything, every window shattered, every item stolen, not one finger lifted. I went to Santa Monica there with Peter Duke months afterward, and they were still catering to Antifa, and we're still paying the price for Antifa, still being shut down to cater to Antifa. And I just saw her, and then I heard her comment, which is, you ain't seen nothing yet. And I'm just wondering if she isn't the Hitler in sheep's clothing. That's all.
Well, they didn't. They felt that they weren't radical enough. And again, there's the other group there that is upset with the Soviets, that they actually had they're not crazy about the bloodless kind of revolutions. Instead, they want to be able to feel, hear the battleship shooting the initiation shot and that kind, and just be able to go nuts. Again, all the,
and we had that. We had the battleship Potemkin with the shot that heard around the world with, hey, Uber alles, all to the fences, to the barricades. We had all of those things kind of splashed into this, and this Hollywood Weisgerber guy with all the flags and everything, the storming of the Bastille. You had everything kind of rolled into one Ben-Hur production with 100 people. We're over time. So I want to say thank you to Addy Adds. I want to say thank you to Wes McCullough. I want to say thank you to John O'Loughlin for letting us use his studio. We're sorry we couldn't bring you Ann Vandersteel.
Trust Dominion. Huh?
Trust Dominion. Trust Dominion. And John, did you want to wrap it up? Say goodbye to your audience, or no? We just let.
Go on, jump in here, John. You're the show here. Huh?
You're the one everyone waits for.
No, my goal was fulfilled today.
Okay.
I got the day off.
Okay.
I'll be back. I'll be on tonight, George, with my 1 hour summaries, my Wednesday night book reviews, and that's tonight. We're going to do Dr. Mary's Monkey by Ed Haslam.
Okay, you heard John. 8:00 tonight. Everybody watch. It's going to be these 1 hour summaries, and if you haven't seen them, they're really fantastic because we're watching all the episodes. We're having discussions over at the Charette House, and then John is presenting all the comments and everything in a 1 hour summary. So look for that. Dr. Mary's Monkey, again, in these author spotlights that John's doing. He's met many of the authors, and we want to meet more of the authors. And I spent time with Ed Haslam, and just a couple of things that I think you're going to love about Dr. Mary's Monkey. It's about Operation Mongoose. I think at the end of the day, you're going to find that Operation Mongoose really was the money that killed Kennedy. And it was biological weapons to poison Castro. It was also snipers. You have radiation experiments. You have just about everything, every kind of dirty trick, murder, assassination tool Plus, you're going to get soft tissue cancers as a bonus with the viruses that end up somehow in our polio vaccine. What a timely subject that is. So check him out tonight. John's doing his show on here on the screamingospreys.com, where you can find a full schedule of all the events. And then also you can tune into McDuff Lives, correct, Andrew? McDuff Lives. So I've tried it a couple times to type into the YouTube search bar, McDuff Lives, and it doesn't get me right here. But if you add the word Kennedy, if you say McDuff Kennedy Lives, and in a way he does, both of them do when you come to this channel, because we are bringing them back to life, then that will bring you here. So McDuff Kennedy and Lives in the search bar, both at Google, any of the search engines, or YouTube. We'll see you all tonight with John O'Loughlin and, of course, the great engineer Andy Dabala, and we'll see you tonight. Bye.